Live. Good morning. Long time no see. It's been a while. How are you? It's a new month. My God. I hope we've all been very, very busy and we're staying safe. Um, I don't know. It's been a while. I've just been very quiet because a lot of things are going on the back end. And I've been reading a lot and watching the Nigerian saga, I would like to call it, the NSARS movement, and a lot of other movements to see what's going on in the world and how people are actually handling what's going on around the world, period. Um, Being a Nigerian in America, or Nigerian American, you want to say, has been very traumatizing, I think, because you've got the elections going on in the United States, and then you have the NSAS movement in Nigeria, and I'm kind of being pulled in two different directions. For most of you guys that know, the name of the show is Authentic Conversations with Moji. Here we talk about the good, we talk about the bad, and we definitely talk about the ugly, because until we face our worst demons, none of us are going to grow. Anyways, while we're doing that, let me just give me a second and I'll be, you know the deal. I'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Authentic Conversations with Moji, and welcome back to my page, I would say. If you are on the page and you're new, my name is Mojisola Wilson, and the show is Authentic Conversations, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Unfortunately, there's been a lot more ugly than there's been good lately, but we all have to try and figure out a way to create some goodness in our lives. So for the past few weeks, I've been watching the NSARS movement. My wife and I went out and we protested alongside with hundreds of thousands of Nigerians all over the world about the way the government had been treating us Nigerians. And then, of course, Black Lives Matter happened in America as well. And my issue with Black Lives Matter is that it was only centered again, as always, around the Black American issues. So I've been talking to a lot of Black Americans during this whole period, and I've been very quiet. I've been quiet because a lot of questions were not being answered. Fortunately for me, in the past 2 weeks, I was lucky to be at a protest where Congresswoman Sheila Jackson was, and she gave a speech and she touched on the issues of the Nigerian LGBTQs and Nigeria in general, and a lot of celebrities have been talking about the Nigerian issues. For the past 7 years, I've always spoken about the Nigerian issues, indirectly or directly, but being a Nigerian that left home very early, I didn't feel I had the right to even be able to speak. But then I learned about 6 or 7 years ago that I do have a right, because I'm in exile. A lot of you guys are in you migrated here. I'm actually in exile. I'm not one of those people that wanted to leave abroad and all that stuff, but here I am. So I was wondering what the Nigerian problem is. So I started to do research. I only speak when I have something to say these days, because I guess I used to get older and realize that life is short. You start to value your time that you give away to other people. So when I started to do my research and ask questions, I saw an interview with Dele Momodu and Namdu Kanu. I saw interviews with Sanwo-Olu, I think his name is. I read a lot of different articles on Nigerian history. I recently found out that even the word Nigeria is associated with the word nigger. Oh my God, no way. My homeland was named by the white people that colonized us. And they just put a whole bunch of tribes that had their own cultures, they had their own kings and their own, religion and all that stuff. They just put us all together. I mean, when I realized that was very depressing for me, I must tell you, you know me, I'm going to give it to you straight. I was very quiet because I started to ask myself, how many people really do know what Nigeria stands for? Because up until I realized that Nigeria meant nigger, was derived from the word nigger, which in America, if you call anybody nigger in America, it's a rap. I mean, are you kidding me? You could lose your tooth A white person could calling a black person a nigger in 2020, you would lose your tooth, and there would be no policeman would, they would understand where you're coming from. I shouldn't say no policeman, because there's a lot of racist police as well. But it's been very disturbing. It's been very heart-wrenching to realize that even our name, Nigeria, my God, is a derogatory word. It's not something that's, uplifting, and a lot of things started to make sense. So I said, I've been talking to a few psychologists, because you guys know I believe heavily in therapy. So I've been in therapy most of my adult lives, adult life, not lives, because I only have one. But that's how I got where I am. And until we all start to face our greatest fears and understand who we are as a people, it's going to be almost impossible for us to reprogram ourselves, because I'm beginning to feel like we've been in a bad relationship with our leaders for so many years, and now we have developed, as Nigerians, we have developed the Stockholm syndrome. Let me just pull up the word Stockholm syndrome for those of you that have no idea what this means, because I was speaking to a therapist, one of my friends that's a psychologist, not a therapist, because there's different levels, but I was speaking to one of my friends, and I didn't come up with the Stockholm syndrome. My friend said to me, the relationship that Nigerians have with their government is really the Stockholm syndrome. And I'm like, what? So I started to read up on the Stockholm syndrome, and the Stockholm syndrome, for you guys, if somebody please Google it and cut and paste it as a comment for me. The Stockholm syndrome is usually when there's a relationship develops between the abuser and the person being abused. For instance, the Stockholm syndrome was originally coined when in Stockholm, a bunch of kidnappers or bank robbers went into a bank and decided to rob the bank, and then they chained and held people that worked there and some customers. They held them hostage for a few days, for about 6 or 7 days. But they were threatening, the hostages were threatening to be killed, but they were not killed. So now they started to feel, grateful, and they felt gratitude towards the people that kidnapped them. They were very excited and happy, and they've been not happy per se, like happy-go-lucky, but they were grateful and happy to be alive, that they developed a bond between the abuser and themselves. So they now started to try to help their kidnappers not get killed by the police. They started to do everything in their power. Same thing goes for Patty Hearst, who comes from a very filthy, rich family, legendary family in America. She was kidnapped, and then she helped her kidnappers to rob a bank. The Stockholm syndrome. When this psychologist friend of mine said it, I was like, that makes sense. Oh my God, that truly, truly makes sense. Because when you think about it, why are Nigerians so, Nigerians are jumping up and down, Americans are jumping up and down, the BRICS are jumping up and down, everybody all over the world is jumping up and down, and there's a lot of people in Nigeria. I even saw a video of an 85-year-old man marching alongside with his daughter. I don't remember who the person was, but an 85-year-old man was marching alongside his daughter, and a lot of Nigerians are still shouting that they have the best government in town. My God, really? You have the best. You are on the side of of your oppressors, screaming that you appreciate what the government has done for you. The government has really pretty much held you hostage for many, many years as a Nigerian, as they hold me hostage for being an LGBTQ person, who they have now deemed is a criminal because I'm gay. And if I decide to, my wife and I are 14 years in jail, free room and board. Why? Why is it that a lot of Nigerians are saying that the government is doing the right things when it's so obvious that the government we are in an abusive relationship with the government of Nigeria? Thank you, Anike. Anike Smith posted, Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological response. It occurs when hostages or abuse victims bond with their captors or abusers. This psychological connection develops over the course of days, weeks, months, or even years of captivity and abuse. So if you think about the Stockholm syndrome, I don't know if anybody out there can hear, understands where I'm going with this conversation. If we Nigerians have the Stockholm syndrome and we believe that we are friends, or the government of Nigeria is really truly our friend, then we have a problem. We have a huge problem, because if you think about the fact that the Brits that colonized us many, many years ago decided to leave Nigeria and then just throw us all together, there's a number one fundamental question. Should we change the name Nigeria? Is it part of the problem why a lot of us have this, what I call a Nigerian mentality, which is me, myself, and I? It's a crabs in a barrel mentality. Is that why a lot of us have it? Because thank God, if I didn't come here at a very early age, I too will probably have that same mentality. But it's not just that. I went through a lot of therapy to be able to reprogram myself. But to reprogram myself, I had to unlearn a lot of the things that I'd been taught. I had to unlearn this me, myself, and I mentality. I had to unlearn tribalism. I had to unlearn colorism. I had to unlearn a whole lot of things. Right now in the Nigerian culture, cheating is acceptable. When I was growing up, cheating wasn't acceptable. Men cheated, women cheated, but my God, it was hidden. Now it's like a badge. I posted something on my page yesterday, and people were like, in my inbox, asking me why I would post such a thing. But I went on a friend's page who I know for a fact is dating a prominent Nigerian politician that bought her a house in Nigeria. The girl lives in America, bought her cars in America. She owns houses. All these things are being paid for by the guy. And you can't come on your page and start shouting NSAS, when we all know that you are using the same money that the people are screaming is theirs to begin with. The hypocrisy is nauseating. It's really, really despicable when you think about the fact that you are claiming to end, you want SARS to end, you want SARS mentality to end, but you or yourself have the SARS mentality. Now let's take half of the Nigerian women in abusive relationship, or women all over the world in abusive relationship, period. A lot of times when you're in an abusive relationship, I read a story yesterday that I'm going to post that video. Actually, the video was sent to me by somebody that works in the office of Human Rights Office in Ibadan. It was a video of a woman that that worked in the Human Rights Office, and she had helped a woman that was being abused. The woman was 27 allegedly. Her husband was 55. 27, 55. That's your father's age, for crying out loud. At 27, this young girl had 4 children. So if you have 4 children at 27, I can't even begin to. I'm trying not to imagine when she got married. So the husband abuses her. He locks her up in a house, and they were able to get her money, get her out, and give her money to rent an apartment. The woman who's been abused now invites the husband, or the husband somehow made his way back into the house. Then one day he locks the woman up. After he locks the woman up in the house, sharpening a knife, somebody tries to rescue her. Eventually they rescued her or whatnot. The guy gets locked up in jail. And the wife was still worried about the husband. I mean, it's like, really? You have 4 children you're supposed to worry about? That's the Stockholm syndrome I'm talking about. It's the same thing when you have trolls on social media trolling you. Everybody knows that. A lot of times people follow you. They follow you. Thank you, Anike. People follow you. People that can't stand you follow you just for the sake of harassing you. And a lot of times people won't block them. They won't block them because they're stuck of the same syndrome, Stockholm syndrome. A lot of us are used to being abused and battered and beaten because of the culture of our country. The culture of our country states that if somebody is older than you, they have a right to abuse you. The elders are always right. We all know that's not true. Your age does not make you wise. Your age does not make you woke. And I hate the word woke, but we'll use it just for now. Your age does not determine. It's the same way now the youth are flipping it. The youth are saying that the youth must run the country, the youth. And for the definition of youth in the Nigerian terms, absolutely nobody knows. So you're saying the youth. What about the other people, the elders or the older people that are capable because they have the experience, that really truly have integrity and they have a moral compass that's not broken? What are you going to do with those people? See, if you don't know where you're coming from, you never know where you're going. It's important that we all try to learn our history. Because I'm telling you, since I've been reading up on Nigerian history, and I've been studying about the Benin Republic, the Igbo people, the Efik people, the Ibibios, and the Efik. We all used to call them the same. Yoruba people are so arrogant, and I'm Yoruba, just so you know. But thing is, when I was the reason I started to look around to find out more about Nigeria many years ago, is because I was trying to find out who I am. Right? I was trying to find out who I am, and along the journey somewhere, I didn't think to go and look way back to find out the history. When you get to the doctor's office and you say you're ill, the first thing they do is, after you get to the appointment, they give you a sheet of paper where you have to tell them your history. Does your father have diabetes? Does your father who died of cancer? Who has this? Who has that? Because your history determines what illnesses you're much more susceptible to. Our history, nobody taught us our history. We know his story. His story is the story that was handed to us by the colonial government. A lot of us don't know our story. If you ask Nigerians today, my age, about our story, not his story, our story, I had absolutely no idea. You know me, I don't come here in front. The reason why I'm always searching and reading and studying is because I know I don't know a lot. The day you decide you know it all, then you might as well be dead. Because at that point, there's no more room for growth. I started to study our history. I listened to all the people that were said to be crazy. I went and did research on Ojukwu. I went and did research on Gowon. I found out that Gowon that I was holding in high places had starved thousands of Ibibio people. That was like last year sometime. And I'm 56. I just learned that. To think the abuse that the people of Nigerians have been subjected to. To think that we are in a country that we didn't even choose. I mean, to think that we were all thrown together. It's like when you're cooking a pot of stew, you guys know I'm a foodie. You don't just throw in everything. You throw in the things that will merge well, that will give the aroma and the taste and the flavor that you want. They just threw all people together without any kind of reform, retraining, nothing. So in order to be the best version of ourselves, is it possible that we should try and change the name Nigeria? Because if I'm answering to nigger, do you blame me for having a nigger mentality? I mean, look at what happened in the past 10 years. People are getting kidnapped every other day. And people, when they get kidnapped, I even read of a guy that got kidnapped twice. It made me ask the dumb question. I'm like, wait, is he in business with the kidnappers? Because once you've been kidnapped once and you've paid the price, why are they coming back again to kidnap you? I've also read a lot of stories about young people that can, pretend to be kidnapped and they go, they make a business pact with their kidnappers. The Stockholm syndrome is what we're suffering from. But my question to you, because I don't have the answers, my question to you is, how do we stop this? How do we get from that point of this Stockholm mentality and syndrome to becoming the people that we once were? Powerful, intelligent, innovative, creative, a people that wanted what's good for the community and not just self. Because if you think about it, why would Tanzania steal billions of dollars, billions, not millions, billions of dollars, and stash it all over the world? And when we start to talk about the world, I mean, if you steal billions from your country and you take it to America or wherever, and they take the money and put it in their banks, knowing fully well you stole it, then all these people don't want what's good for our country. So we as Nigerians have to start to think about ways to solve our problems. But maybe it's time that we think of changing the name from nigger to something that makes sense. Because African culture, all our names are derived by what's going on in our lives and what our parents want from us. Mojisola, born into wealth. Of course, every day you speak my name, Olawale, money is coming. Ayomide, my happiness is here. You're prophesying goodness into your life. That's how our names were chosen. The very moment we were named Nigeria, we were doomed. The very moment they called us the word nigger. So then you can't blame us for acting like niggers. You can't blame us for acting like slaves. You can't blame us for having the slave mentality. While we're ending SARS, and while we're hashtag ending SARS, while we're hashtag ending SARS mentality, maybe we should really explore how we can redefine ourselves. Because if we're calling ourselves nigger, 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 nigger every day, my God, I'm a Nigerian. I haven't had a poster made saying I am not Yoruba, I am not this. Talk about ignorance, arrogance and ignorance on my part. I am not Nigerian, I'm not Igbo, I'm not Yoruba, I'm not Efik, I'm not this, I'm not that. I am Nigerian. I just admitted that I, Moji, am a nigger. Go figure. Let me take Shola's comment. Shola says, as long as we don't have a fundamental awareness of self, as Nigerians and by extension, Black folks will be doomed to economic, mental, and cultural slavery in perpetuity. We'll be in a never-ending Stockholm syndrome cycle. Wow, that's scary. It all starts with knowing who we are and where we fit globally and in our backyards. To quote your statement, if you don't know where you come from, you'll never know where you're going. Shuku to you, Shola. Double shuku self. Let me just break this down, though, a little bit. As long as we don't have a fundamental awareness of self as Nigerians, see, even the name Nigerian, now that I know what Nigeria means or how the name Nigeria was derived, now I find it hard to call myself a Nigerian. I think we need to find a better name than a word that's derived from the word nigger. I really think it's time that we find a better name for Nigeria. There's another African country that renamed itself. And since they renamed themselves, they're thriving. Because you cannot, every day, I'm from the school of thought that our tongue is the greatest weapon that we have. So the very moment that we're calling ourselves Nigerians, nigger, 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 you can't blame us for having the niggerish mentality. I mean, we should, oh, thank you. Every country, every African country that's thriving today has changed their name. They have gotten rid of the name the slave masters gave them, and they have changed it, they have reconciled. Until we do that in Nigeria, we will not be any better. We will continue to have the niggerish mentality. We will continue because we're calling ourselves niggers by calling ourselves Nigerians. You can't blame us because I do affirmations every morning and I talk about how, Moji, you are beautiful, you are smart, you're going to have an amazing day, you are God's chosen child, you are loved by God. If I am saying that to myself every day and I'm reprogramming my mind, I'm programming my consciousness, how then can I walk around calling myself a nigger and I'll be okay with it? I think we need to start really by changing the name. Yes, end SARS. Yes, end police brutality. Yes, end bad governance until we end Nigeria. And I don't mean Nigeria, the country. I'm saying let's change the name Nigeria to something that's more positive instead of calling ourselves nigger and being proud of being called a nigger by those people that colonized us many years ago. We need to change our story. Yes. Shola says, we should definitely change the name of the country. Ghana did. Upper Volta did. It's part of the narrative of taking charge of our own stories and history. And like I continue to say, until we change ourselves, we cannot change anything. We cannot change anything. Ruthie says, spiritual awakening for the masses. I think it's the only solution to all these common problems on a global, universal level. Very true. Thank you for explaining the manifestation-oriented significance of naming the children. It's that. Let me tell you, Ruthie is an American. For those of you guys that don't know, really cool chick. But for us Africans, we wait 7 days before we name the child. 7 whole days. Well, for us Nigerians, especially Yoruba people, we wait 7 days. My daughter's name is Oluwabukola. God gave me more wealth. Oluwadamilola, Oluwatobi, God is mighty. You give them names that brings goodness into their lives. It's like somebody called me and said, I'm naming my son Damien. I was like, no, you're not. Because then when he starts to exhibit the habits of Damien or the characteristics of what we know to be Damien, then you have yourself to blame. It was a Nigerian person. That's why I could say that. And she got it. She understood it. A name is very important. The name you're called is very important. The name that you call yourself is very important. I know a lot of people that have changed their birth names to names that make more sense. Numerologically, spiritually, you have to be on point. Once we were named Nigerian, nigger. Now I understand why Nigerian mentality is the way it is. Because you can't call somebody a nigger every day of their lives and expect them to act like the king and queens that they are. The Benin Empire was one of the strongest empires in Africa. The Oyo, Oshogbo, name it. We were known to be powerful people. And then the Oyinbo people came in and threw us all together. They murdered us. A lot of us sold ourselves. This is why education sometimes is like really bad for you. Ignorance, they say, is bliss. I'm beginning to believe that, because about 3 weeks ago, I read somewhere, and I'll find it, where it said that I saw a documentary. It was a documentary on Nigeria, and almost 50%, if not more, of the Nigerians of the Black Americans are from Nigeria. I repeat, almost 50%. So now it no longer baffles me when an African-American friend does their DNA and they tell me, oh, I'm from Nigeria, I'm from the Igbo tribe, or I'm Yoruba, or I'm Efik, or this. Now it makes sense. When you now go down as far as Brazil, there's a whole colony of Nigerian Yorubas, of Yorubas. 75% of the slaves that were taken to Brazil and a lot of the Caribbean islands came from Nigeria. 75%. So in saying all of that, you can't name a people nigger and expect them not to behave like niggers. You can't call somebody a slave and expect them not to behave like a slave. The Stockholm syndrome. We feel obligated to the white people in Nigeria, Stockholm syndrome. They came in, they clunked us over the head, they enslaved us, telling us that they were giving us education and things. They only taught us what they wanted us to know. They didn't teach us our history. They taught us their history. Any Nigerian child can tell you the names of every body in office in almost every country. That's part of what we had to learn. But ask me the name of the king of my village. I don't know. I have no idea, because they taught us his story, their story, exactly what they wanted us to know. This is why I tell people, you can have a PhD, you can have 10 PhDs, 10 masters, and still be an educated illiterate. Because education is not just in books. Education is in what, I know a lot of people that have never been to school, a day in their lives, formal school, but they're much more educated than the people running around with PhDs, shouting we're the best, we know it all. Because first of all, to be educated, you know that you don't know it all. We have to change that name, Nigeria. Or we ourselves have to start to change our mentality and get rid of the Stockholm syndrome. Unless something is from America or something is from abroad, Nigerians won't buy it. You have Nigerian designers in Nigeria and people are spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a suit. $3,000 is ₦1 million. A school education, college education for 1 year in the average university in Nigeria is 65,000 naira. 65,000 naira is less than $300. Yet you have Nigerians that will rather wear Versace and Armani than help to support the economy. And we blame the white man. Yes, I blame the white man. I never used to. I blame the white man because they condition us to believe that we are less. And every day when I am told I'm a Nigerian, I am being told I'm a nigger. A nigger. A nigger. And I had no idea. So until we learn our history, until we start to use a different name to call ourselves, we're going to always have that Nigerian mentality. The Nigerian mentality is that crab in a barrel mentality. Me, myself, and I have to get everything for myself. Just me, just me. Nigerians in Nigeria are more concerned about the American elections than they are about what's going on in their own backyards. They're having night vigils for Trump to win. The same Trump, this is the Stockholm syndrome that I'm talking about. The same Trump that's blocked all Nigerians that are legally trying to come to America. The same Trump that has blocked all Nigerian citizens coming to join their partners in America. If I were a Nigerian in Nigeria, I would be on the phone with everybody that I know in America to vote differently. But Nigerians are calling for somebody that has verbally abused Nigerians, literally physically abused Nigerians, because if we're stuck in a place and we can't move, he's literally enslaved us. And yet we want Trump to win. Nigerians are shouting Trump, Trump, Trump. Even Nigerians in America. How dare you shout for Trump? Because this is the same man that has shut the doors to other Nigerians. Is it because you're here? See, people don't understand that when you vote for somebody that pushes racism, that condones racism, it's going to affect you. Even if you're in Nigeria, it's going to affect you in whatever parts of the world that you're in. It's going to affect trading. It's going to affect traveling. It's going to affect tourism. It's going to affect everything. But again, if Nigeria, the word Nigeria is derived from the word nigger, I can't blame the people. I think it's time that we all start to lobby for the name Nigeria to be changed. Because you cannot call somebody a nigger every day and expect them not to act like niggers. And then I look around the world at all the black people to see what's changed. I looked around, it took me 2 weeks to study each African, Black, Caribbean country, to look at their composition and what's going on in their countries. And it's sad, it's the same thing. See that niggerish mentality, that slave mentality, that massa mentality, that the white man is always going to be better mentality. It's a common thread between all of us, because I used to say in the past, are we cursed? Are black people cursed? Because wherever you go, it's the same thing. We don't believe we can do things ourselves. We Africans are powerful people. We have cocoa, we have oil, we have minerals, we have gold, we have crude oil. Why then can't we be self-sustaining? Why? It doesn't make sense. But see, the programming, nigger. What's a nigger? A person that's enslaved. What is a nigger? A person that's enslaved. So if you're walking around with a niggerish mentality, you will continue to bow to the people that enslave you. The Stockholm syndrome is what a lot of Nigerians suffer from. When you think about it, until we are able to change that name and we start to tell our own story, we start to change the narrative of our people and realize that Nigeria is a body of different cultures, different ethnicities, different tribes, different kingdoms even. Because Ife was a kingdom, Benin was a kingdom. I mean, there's so many kingdoms, Badagry, all of those places were just thrown together. And certain parts of Nigeria were not even Nigeria. They just said, okay, here's a map. We're just going to drop a circle. And then the Fulanis that were not even really originally Nigerians are now Nigerians. And some people that were originally part of Nigeria have been, in the past few years, cut off out of Nigeria and standing by themselves, Lone Rangers. We have to get rid of the name Nigeria. We must start to reprogram ourselves, and it's an individual thing. It's very, very sad when you think about the word Nigeria being derived from the word nigger. And we were all jumping up and down. Well, I was born way after the independence. But 1960, Nigerians were jumping up and down because they're free, not understanding that what we had was invisible shackles. Till today, we have invisible shackles. Till today. Because until we change our mind, the shackles will never go. Until we start to respect ourselves and love ourselves, the shackles will never be removed. Until we start to see ourselves as individuals and not Nigerians. Because the word Nigerians, Nigerian, is derived from the word nigger. I am not a nigger. Far from it. We have to do better. Nigeria has to apologize, first of all, to all those tribes that they've been abusing for many years. The government must apologize to the people. I looked at South Africa. The only reason why South Africa is allegedly thriving is because of the fact that South Africans, they had these sessions reconciliation sessions, where the people that abused and maimed and killed and raped apologized to their victims. They did not mock or taunt them. They did not call them children. They did not say all of them were on drugs. Who wouldn't be on drugs, having to live in Nigeria? There's no water, there's no electric, there's no running, nothing. You can't get anywhere without bribing anybody in office. You can't even get, it's ₦1 million to register a business. Where are you going to get it unless you steal? The nigger mentality must go. It starts with me. It starts with you. And until you look in the mirror and tell yourself you're not a nigger, until you look in the mirror and tell yourself you need to stop acting like a nigger, until a lot of women that are shouting, oh, they're feminist and this, look in the mirror and tell themselves, I will no longer suffer from the Stockholm mentality, which is where I believe that a man is everything without a man, I'm nothing. Or without a ring on my finger, I'm nothing. We're not going to be any better. Because a lot of women are side chicks. Because I'd rather have a man. Or I'd rather be with somebody than be alone. Because I'll be respected even if I'm the 10th or 11th wife. A lot of women are sleeping with people so their husbands can get a job. That's a nigger mentality. We are powerful, beautiful, talented human beings. Look across the world. Nigerians are sitting at the table of most Fortune 500 companies. They're running businesses. They're doing things they cannot do in their own country. And then we get here and we look down on black men and women, not realizing that we're all the same, all across the board, until there's Pan-Africanism. Black people will not make it. Until we realize that we're all one and the same. And none of us are better than the other. Because the truth is, we're all truly just suffering from the Stockholm mentality. Why else would people like Ice-T or Ice Cube, whatever he is, somebody needs to put him in the sun so he can melt a little, be shouting, vote for Trump? Why else would Kanye West? Stockholm mentality. Why else would all these black people be shouting after, Trump has said, shut the gates to all the black countries so they can't come into America? Why would Africans be lobbying for Donald Trump all the way in Nigeria? Stockholm mentality. Why would black people in America that have been abused, that don't get loans, business loans, because of the policies put into place many years ago? Think about it. Stockholm mentality. Until we fix ourselves, until we start lobbying for the name Nigeria to be changed, we will continue to suffer from the Stockholm mentality. Again, Annika Smith, thank you for posting that. Stockholm syndrome is a psychological response. It occurs when hostages or abuse victims bond with their captors or abusers. This psychological connection develops over the course of the days, weeks, months, or even years of captivity or abuse. A lot of things make sense now Before, I used to get so frustrated about Nigeria and Nigerians and Black people in a whole. I used to say, oh my God, Black people must be cursed. We're not cursed. We're just suffering from the Stockholm mentality, where we have become attached to our abusers and our captors. And we're so grateful for the little crumbs that they throw us. And that goes for the Nigerian government as well. But I want to make a movement today. I want to ask you guys, all 5 of you that are on this show, when you post hashtag end SARS, please post hashtag change the name of Nigeria. Because until we change that name, every day when we're called Nigerians, they're calling us a nigger. As they speak the word nigger into our lives, we'll continue to act like niggers. We'll continue to act like niggers. We'll continue to behave like animals enslaved. And for many years, we have been enslaved by the Nigerian government, who is governed. The Nigerian government, oh God, I don't want to say too much. But from my research, I found out that the Nigerian government is governed by European countries. That's all I'm going to say. I've been very quiet for fear of saying the wrong thing that will get me in more trouble. But it's time that we change the name Nigeria, because we're not niggers. We are kings, descendants of kings and queens. And so are the Black Americans that are here. But until we all start to learn our history and stop learning their story, because their story is what we were fed as children. And that's why we're here today. That's why a government can, that's why politicians in Nigeria are getting 30 million naira, $93,000 a month. And Obama, the president of America, while he was sitting in the Oval Office, was only making $400,000 a year. That's what a senator makes in 4 months. And a school teacher a school teacher makes $49,000, $110. While people like Dino Malaya gets 80 and 90-something thousand dollars a month. A policeman that we're screaming at is paid 49,000 naira a month. With 4 children, he has to pay rent, he has to feed himself. We need reform. Reform starts with us, though. We need reform. We need reform. We need the name Nigeria to be changed. Because until they start to speak goodness into our lives by what we are called, I personally don't see where we're going. We'll continue to have the nigger mentality. My name is Mojisola Wilson. The show is Authentic Conversations with Moji. I thank you for joining me. It's been one of those emotionally crazy months and years. 2020 is almost over. May we be here this time next year. And may our tomorrow be better than our today. But today, may our today be filled with blessings and grace. Thank you again. See you Wednesday, hopefully. Namaste. Spread the word. Change Nigeria. Change yourselves.